folks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Natasha and I do book things here. Day 2 of my Stephen King week, and as you can tell again from the amazing thumbnail, is books that Carrie would read or Carrie would like, books that I recommend for people who like Carrie, all that stuff. But it's books that Carrie would read. For those of you who might not be aware of Carrie as a fictional character, I'm referencing Carrie White from the novel Carrie, and that is Stephen King's first published novel, and it's about a 16-year-old girl who has telekinetic powers. Interestingly enough, she has telekinetic powers but does not have pyrokinesis, which is mentioned in some of these books that I'm going to recommend to her. But she has telekinetic powers and can move stuff with her mind, which causes a bunch of things to happen in her town. Carrie is one of my favorite characters from Stephen King books because Carrie is not a villain. Does she do some horrible things and sort of a revenge plot? Yes, but she's not a villain. She's more or less an innocent teenage girl, to some degree, but she does get her revenge on her mother and some people in her life. So when I made this video, I was debating whether or not I wanted to do Stephen King villains or just Stephen King characters, and Carrie is one that is really not a Stephen King villain. So it's going to be well-known Stephen King characters throughout this week because, I don't know, doing Carrie's mom and suggesting Carrie's mom a book would be the Bible, and then it would be the end of that video. And I think that says it all. I have 5 books here that I would suggest to Carrie, sort of keeping in mind that she is 16, but at the same time I was reading Carrie and Pet Sematary when I was 16. So when I think of Carrie, I do think of her more like innocent side, and I feel like she was sort of the girl, or she's written as the girl who just doesn't have a lot of knowledge about the world and doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, and she's sort of shy and gets bullied over the first couple scenes in the book. And so I feel like she needs something with a little bit more like power. For some reason, the book that I thought of that I loved and I gave 5 stars, very sort of feminist and forward thinking, that is The Nowhere Girls by Amy Reed. This book does deal with a lot of tough subjects. I feel like this is a good book for any sort of like younger girl, teenage age to read. It does have some hard subjects in it, like sexual assault and things like that, but I feel like this might make Carrie feel like one of the girls in this book. There's a lot of different ways that this book goes in terms of like the storyline, and it references a lot of different girls' experiences within rape culture, which is not necessarily something that Carrie experiences, but she does experience like bullying, and the book is set in a time frame where some of these sort of terms might be used towards her. And so I just feel like this book might give her a sense of peace, and just acknowledge that some of the things that are happening to her in her life she's sort of not alone by, and maybe give her a little bit of power outside of her telekinetic power. So this is the first book that Carrie would read. So the second book that Carrie would read, I don't know if this is too meta, maybe, but I'm gonna do it anyway. The Fireman by Joe Hill. I feel like Carrie would maybe relate to some of this. Now, Carrie, like I said, does not have pyrokinesis, which is starting fires with her mind, but she does move stuff which results in a fire, and I feel like maybe her interest in that would sort of reflect into her possibly picking this book up. So this book is about a plague that is spreading across with spores, where people are getting these sort of tattoo-like markings on their bodies and then are spontaneously combusting, causing fires and things like that, and a cast of characters sort of has to figure out what's going on with that. I feel like Carrie's confusion with not really understanding what's going on in her body and not understanding her powers, these people not really understanding the current situation, the plague, and then also just the fires in it, I feel like Carrie would probably pick this up and be interested in it and read it in the closet where she hides. And then, as if that wasn't meta, this is really meta. So I think another book that Carrie would read would be Firestarter. And Firestarter's interesting because I believe the character in this is sort of kind of mentioned at the end of Carrie. Does this kid have the same sort of thing that Carrie has? However, Charlie in this book does have pyrokinesis, so she can start fires with her mind, and has a lot of similarities to Carrie in that, and I feel like maybe Carrie would just read this as a better understanding, again, of her abilities, how to control them, what it means if, you know, she used her powers and proceeded to live, and maybe was sort of hunted down by people who are interested in those powers. I think that she would read this. What do you guys think? I think she would. So another book that I think Carrie would read, maybe. This one is a stretch, but it's more for people who like the format of the book Carrie, which is told in articles and things after the fact, so the reader kind of knows what's happening in the life of Carrie as you're sort of discovering it throughout the book. Very similar things happen in The Troop by Nick Cutter. It's told in very much a similar way, and Nick Cutter does reference Carrie, I believe, in the ending. And so Carrie, as a fictional character, perhaps would like the way that her own story has been told and would want to read more stories told that way. That's a stretch, I know. But yeah, I think this book is very, very twisted. So it follows a scout troop trapped on an island, and this virus gets released, and it's pretty gross. So I think Carrie would be horrified at this, but then again, she does have that dark side of her, right? Like sort of a revengeful, murderous side of her. I'd be interested to see if she would read this, but maybe she would just like the format. I think she'd like the format of it. And then lastly, a book that I think Carrie would read for the mother-daughter relationship in this book and how it works out, because Carrie, as we know from Carrie's story, has a very rough relationship with her mother, has love for her, but it's rough, and her mom definitely thinks that she has Satan inside of her. The usual mother-daughter relationship. And I feel like Carrie would pick this book up just to have, you know, another look at a mother-daughter relationship told in a really interesting way, and that is Everything Beautiful Is Not Ruined by Danielle Young Ullman. This is a beautiful book about a teenage girl who goes to a sort of wilderness camp, which, you know what, I feel like Carrie would go to camp. I feel like she would just get out of like that town and the people that are around her and do some like self-discovery. So maybe this would be Carrie's like escapism book, much like I mentioned with Pennywise, just sort of escaping his reality. Carrie's escaping her reality and doing something like this. So the character in this goes to a wilderness camp, and in the meantime is writing letters to her mother, and things happen and you discover things throughout the book, and it's a really wonderful book, and I feel like Carrie would appreciate it and like it. So yeah, those are my 5 books. Oh, they all kind of look beautiful together. Those are the 5 books that I suggest for Carrie White, or that Carrie White would read. Let me know in the comments down below. Are there any other books that stand out for you, that books either that are similar to Carrie, that Carrie herself would read and appreciate? Leave them in the comments down below so she can check them out and get some book recommendations. Hopefully you guys like this video, and I will see you guys tomorrow with our next Stephen King video. Who's it gonna be? Do you guys, can you guys figure out who it's gonna be? There's a comment, leave that down below. Hopefully you guys are doing good, and I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.